Hello. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Did Brandon send you the link? I mean, the PDF with information for the breakout room?
Give me one moment. Let me check. No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll send it over.
I appreciate that.
You guys will be starting in a few minutes.
have the same sheet that everybody else got. But my sheet.
All right, you guys, we will start in 2 minutes. At 1:10, we will begin.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, it's 1:10 on the dot. Hello, everyone. I'm asking, can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Hands up, thumbs raised, whatever. There you go. Hello, hello. Mr. Stokes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, perfect. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank you all first and foremost for coming out this Saturday afternoon and being a part of this meeting. I know you guys could be anywhere else, but I really do appreciate it. And allow me to introduce myself. My name is Naya Odom. I am a rising senior at the best HBCU in the land, Jackson State University. And I am studying to get my bachelor's degree in social work this coming spring. And I'm also an intern here at Hill 901 this summer. It has been an amazing experience, and I appreciate the panel for allowing me to be here. It is also my pleasure to be a part of this meeting today, where Hill 901 is taking the initiative to hear everyone's concerns in regards to the community and how we could help by hearing your voice today. And in turn, we will be implementing these ideas and solutions that we come up with today to just go about in action towards the near future. And now I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint for you guys to let you see the agenda outline for this afternoon as well. All right. Can everyone see this so far?
Yes, we see it.
All right. All right, first we have the agenda outline. The welcome will be 5 minutes. We have the introduction, opening remarks, and this will be led by our director, Darrell Cowan. And we have an icebreaker, and the list goes on and on. And now I'm going to allow the gentleman who can tell you all things Hill 901 to introduce himself and the panel that we have today, Director Darrell Cowan.
Awesome, Naya. Thank you so much for leading this initiative and taking this on. It's a pleasure to be on the line with such wonderful individuals. I think I'm gonna go through and introduce my staff, my team. So I have my assistant director, Brandon Owsley. The professor is on the line with us. I also have my director of operations. You can't see him, but there you go. There you go. Mr. Stokes is on the line. And one of our good friend community partners, the executive director of UPass, United Parents and Students, Mr. Kevin Armstrong is in the building. And I'm excited to hear some of the things that these individuals want to talk about when it comes to the topics that we're going to bring up today on this panel. Literally, I want Kevin to discuss poverty. Kevin is a native Memphian. He's one who invests a lot of time in the youth in the city of Memphis and trying to connect the parents to the resources that they need, but also understanding that in Memphis, there are certain things that our children see that kind of deter them from being the best them that they can possibly be. And we want to address some of those things. And I think one of those things is poverty, and we need to understand the mental health, the trauma that's associated with that. Along with Professor, our professor will be talking about blight, understanding the psychology behind blight and what that does to our children. And me, I'll be taking on the task of talking about crime and violence, which to me are a public health issue, and we'll expound on that later. And I cannot say this enough, how much we appreciate Miss Naya Odom for taking the reins on this. This is her meeting. I'm doing whatever she tells me to do, however she needs me to work it. I'm at her mercy on today. So thank you, Miss Odom, for leading this charge. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited.
All right, thank you. So you guys, I actually have some pictures based off Hill 901 program, and I'm gonna let Mr. Brandon tell us about the programs and what Hill 901 has to offer, along with everything else that we have done before we get started and get going with our icebreaker for this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Naya. So as Darrell and everybody has mentioned, I am the assistant director of Hill 901, and we do have some great programming. To start off, we do have our outreach that we do in the community. We have our Love Day, which is what we do to support those who are homeless. Lately, since COVID-19 has restricted some of our activities and working with the homeless population, we have done some support and outreach events for first responders, including all of the firehouses in the Whitehaven community. And also we have two of our flagship programs. These are evidence-based prevention programs. We have Coaching Boys into Men and Athletes as Leaders. These two programs are to stop and prevent sexual assault and domestic violence. So Coaching Boys into Men is a program that works with high school athletes on male teams, and Athletes as Leaders is our female component.
Thank you for that, Brandon. Next, I'm going to show you all more pictures of how Hill 901 can help in our community partners. We have Green Dot Public Schools, the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Restore Corps, Crime Victims and Rapes Crisis Center, the University of Memphis, A Step Ahead Foundation, and our newly submitted community partner is Jackson State University, and these guys have helped us out plenty with the program, and we appreciate them. Next up, we have our icebreakers, and so instead of our panelists leading the icebreaker, I am going to take initiative, and you guys are going to enjoy this scavenger hunt that I have planned for this afternoon to go ahead and get the meter rolling afterwards. So with the scavenger hunt, the icebreaker is an at-home and in-office scavenger hunt, and you will have 20 seconds to collect all the items that I have on my list. I saw eyes get big and wide. It's okay. 20 seconds for one individual item, not all your items at one time. Yes, clarification. So you have 20 seconds, and I'm just gonna let you guys collect them. Once your 20 seconds is up, I might feel a little spiffy, make it 15 seconds. And towards the end, you guys will show all of your items in the screen, and whoever has the most items has the most points. And that's how the game will get rolling. All right. I'm
Let's
gonna
get competitive, guys. Let's get competitive.
Let me get my timer set. So the first item on my list for the in-home and in-office scavenger hunt would be a pen. You have 20 seconds, your time starts now. Show it in the screen once you have it. Got 2 people.
Kevin, I see you was on ready, man. I see that. I see that.
Brandon. Mr. Stokes, you have 4 seconds. There you go. All right, next up, our next item is something red. 20 seconds started now. Uh-oh. There you go, Kevin. Red. Okay. 10 seconds. 7, 6, Brandon, 5, 4, 3. Oh. I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. All right. Next, we have a sticky note. People. Uh-oh, he had to pull out the whole stash. 10 seconds. 6.
You at your office. You at your desk.
1. And time's up. All
Yeah.
right. Next up, we have a book. A book. There you go. Good, good. Perfect. A spoon.
My coffee cup.
Somebody had coffee this morning. A spoon. Yes. 7 seconds. There you go. 3, 2, 1. Up, right on time. Something round. Something round. 15 seconds. There you go. Cooked. Okay. 5 seconds.
Brandon, did you just smell that marker?
Oh,
I'm not sure what this is, that's why.
okay. A paper clip. A paper clip. Nice. Uh-oh. 8, 7, 6, 5. There you go. 2, 1. That's time. All right. Mr. Stokes and Mr. Armstrong, you guys didn't make it up. Okay, I guess I'll let you have it. Your next item is a coin. A coin. 15 seconds. A coin. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, time. There you go.
Hill 901 is a nonprofit organization. Unfortunately, we do not have a cash in office.
Yes. All right, next we have a key. A key. Nice. He's on deck. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Next we have a phone charger. A phone charger.
I saw that panic look in your face, Professor.
My son helped y'all out. He distracted me, man. He was there helping y'all.
We appreciate that dose.
2, 1. All right. Next, we have something that has numbers on it. 20 seconds. Nice, nice. Quick thinking. Gotcha. Perfect. 2 more items. We have a candle. 20 seconds started. A candle. Nice. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, last one. A pillow, 20 seconds. A pillow. Uh-oh, you had them all. Very good. 5, 4.
Cushions and pillows out, guys.
All right. That is the end of the scavenger hunt. I'm sure you can't hold all of your items up, but everybody did a great job with this. I thank you guys for participating. And now it's time for us to get down to business. Why we have you all gathered here today is to discuss the things that are going on in our community. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear any ways that Heal 901 can help, and just let you get it off your chest. Let us know what's going on. You can use the raising hand icon on your at the bottom of your Zoom to speak on any topic that you would like.
All right. I think the best way to do this is just make this an open discussion where we all talk about the various items that we would do in the breakout session.
Mhm.
So for me, crime and violence, just want to get some input from the individuals that are on the line, those who are part of the panel and anyone who's here. When it comes to crime and violence, by definition, they are two totally different things. Crime is something that is punishable by law. Violence is something different. Violence can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be financial. You can have economic violence and economic abuse, which is a form of violence. And those things are something different, but all of them still have something different that they do to the individual as well as the community. And I think that that's something that we should all talk about. So for the guys on the panel, what comes to you guys' mind when we hear crime? Let's separate the two for a moment. And what comes to you guys' mind when we hear crime?
This is Brandon. I'll just kind of chime in. When I think when I hear crime, I think of violence. And particularly in our community in Memphis, it's always been an issue. And I don't know if because I'm more of a community leader that I take it more personally. But statistically, we've had an increase in youth violence. So for me, although there are other crimes, that one just comes to mind. And I think primarily because it's the biggest one I see here in the city.
Awesome. Brandon, I heard you speak about the youth crime upticks in the city of Memphis. And once again, our job is to not just talk about the issues. I think that anytime that we cut on the news in the city of Memphis, we're reminded of the violence and crime that plagues our city on a daily basis. For us, is more viable solutions that we want to come up with as a group. And I know that Kevin does a lot of work with you, or as well as all of us, just wanting to know, and this is just backing up a little bit. This summer I had the pleasure of working with Kevin and UPass and all their students at the summer program that they had. And it was a wonderful event. And to be able to interact with our youth was not only fun for them, but it was very refreshing for me as an adult, understanding that I invested my time into the future of my city. And I think that it's very important that adults take that time to go back and invest in our babies. And when I say our babies, you don't have to birth a child to be impactful or make an impact or lasting impact in that child's life. I think we all can say that there's teachers that we've experienced throughout life that had great impact in shaping and molding us to be the individuals that we are today. Actually, they shaped us so well that we're still striving and fighting to be the best version of ourselves. And I think that that's important. If you grew up in the community like I did, I had the pleasure of growing up, spending a lot of my childhood on Gill Road. And if you haven't never been on Gill Road, you'll know that Gill Road is a family. So to be able to come up in a community where I knew everybody's name from Shelby Drive to Summerwood, that was important. I knew that if anything I did on this street, not only would, my family hear about it, but I knew that those people who lived on this street would be disappointed in me because they expected more from me and of me. And that was because they were investing in me. I remember the first person to teach me how to drive was my grandmother's next door neighbor, former principal at Hamilton, former principal at various schools. But he taught me how to drive as a young man. And things like that are important. So what can we do? And I noticed that Brandon put in the chat, most definitely, our children do need more to do. So, and I was going back to that summer program because them kids really enjoyed themselves. They enjoyed themselves downtown. So outside of just the summer when we're trying to make sure they're occupied, what are things that we can do year round to engage our youth? What are things that we can create for our youth to be able to do? And let's brainstorm on that, guys, and see if there's some things that we can work toward to try and implement, not right now, but things that we can try and put into works to try and see if we can bring these things to fruition for these youth.
Thank you for having me here this afternoon, excuse me. But always happy to be a part of Hill 901 and anything that you all do. Thank you for participating in our summer camp. It was an excellent experience. The children definitely had a great time. To your point earlier, when you said every time we turn on the news, there's always this coverage about how kids are getting shot and there's uptick in violence. And it's like, okay, we see people out there marching, we see people out there doing stuff, but how have you invested in the youth in your neighborhood? What have you done? Have you invested in a family? Have you shown somebody how to drive? Like, have you given somebody an opportunity to say, rather than stealing a car, you need a ride to work, here's a ride to work, or here's a bus pass or something, some kind of tangible action or kind of, as Brandon said, some kind of time input where you're showing these children that you actually care. I was having this conversation, I think, with Megan Quell, and I was telling her, like, wouldn't it be cool if while the kids are going to school, they can work at the school at the same time. So they're actually getting education and they're getting an income in the same building. And then they have pride in the place where they're actually coming, where they're learning, but they're also making money. So they're further invested in the school and what it looks like and can advocate more for resources coming to this school. So it's just those small ideas like that, like just it, to me, the situations that we're dealing with are complex, but they're not that complex where we can't curb it in some kind of way. Like, yeah, okay, there are things going on, but how are you individually impacting just one child's life? Because one child is better than no child. As I don't agree with Bush, some of his policies, long gone. But no child should be left behind. Like that's true. Like we shouldn't be leaving anybody behind. No child or an adult at any point, actually. So, but it's particularly with youth, like you all do your programming with the kids at Fairleigh, with the young ladies, the athletes, like that's important. That's critical because not only do they see that you're doing that, but now they're going to communicate that message. Word of mouth is the easiest marketing tool there is. And now they're communicating to their friends and their peers like, hey, there's a group that actually cares about us. They do this, 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 and that. I know when we had our summer camp, there was one particular student named Rodney. And even my executive director made mention like he was zooming across the floor in the rolling chairs. And I was like, yeah, that's cool or whatever. But my thing was, here's a kid that didn't sign up for this program, saw what some other kids were doing, asked could he be a part of it, and showed up faithfully. Whether he's zooming around on this floor, whether he's kicked back, he's still paying attention and he's able to recite and retort information that you just gave him. So are you going to discount him because he doesn't look or behave like the ideal figure that you would want in a summer camp? We have to move away from those kind of, this is what it should look like, and just see the potential. And that's discernment. That's real discernment. Like when you're working with youth, I think animals and youth are the ones that can really tell if you're genuine. That's why some dogs bark at your friends when they come in the house. You should pay attention to that. Shut up. I'm going on to something else. But again, it's like when the children or youth, whatever you want to call them, when they know that you're invested in them and they can speak to you about anything. So we have a student named Gabby. She's writing a book. I have no literary like experience or anything, but she wanted to share that book with me. You better believe I read it. I screenshotted it. I'm looking over it to give her some feedback, because even that small investment, if a child opens up to you like that, you better be invested in them because they see something in you and they trust you. And with that, you have to return that. I think me, growing up in Memphis, I always wanted to pour back into Memphis, always wanted to pour back into youth and adults, because it's like, I understand, you know, I know what it is to come to the house and you ain't got no lights. Like, I know what that is. Or to have leftovers that you cooked on Sunday to last you till Friday, because you're going to get you some spaghetti, and then mama by Wednesday, she's going to go to KFC or Popeyes and get y'all an 8-piece, and then that's going to last you to Thursday. And Friday, y'all might get some pizza, y'all might get some burgers. All right, I'm going too much into mine. I'm off my soapbox, but thank you again for having me.
Oh, no, you're good, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing, Doc. And that was very valuable information, you know, how we're investing in the youth. And I like that idea of working where you learn for that personal investment. I really wrote those things down. The professor, I noticed that you have your hand up, sir.
Yes. So one of the things that I'm hearing consistently that I like is that it seems that the youth, the mentorship piece, when they see that someone is connected and invested, that really does work. And thinking about how that can be done on the grand scale thing, you know, I think about volunteers and literacy programs really going to adults. And when I say going to adults, going where adults are, which is at their place of employment, and really talking about the benefits of mentorship and getting more, and I don't know how that would play into what it is that we do, but I just see that mentorship piece is going to be a big component really to helping the youth.
Right. And Brandon, it goes back to what we do. I think it's that follow-up care, because once you are typically done with programs, they're cast to the side. Like, it was cool to interact with you. It was cool to learn with you. It was cool, you know, that you were investing in me then. But what happens when I'm no longer part of your program? Can I still reach out to you? Can I still get some advice? If I'm with a group of friends and they're about to make a bad decision and I text you, are you going to respond to me, or did you give me a Google number where I can't get back in contact with you? Did you Google voice me? Did you Google, you know, those things are important, because if you're not going to be in these youth life for the long haul, and I must say this, unfortunately, our youth have been let down by adults too many times. So the hesitation that you normally get from youth, that's the reason why. It's because they have invested, they've given their all, they loved on somebody, expected someone to be there for them. And when you're a child and you have your heart broken by adults, you know, consistently, hey, that's going to alter the way that you grow. We have to realize that children are growing individuals. And I'm gonna go back to this. My grandfather, when I used to watch my grandfather with plants, this is crazy. With baby plants, he used to literally have a stick next to the plant and have it tied to the stick. And I was like, why does he keep tying the branch, the main part of this thing to this stick so it can grow upright and straight? Well, when it started to branch out, my grandfather would take a string and wrap it around the branches and have all the branches going up like this. And I was like, why is the string around these branches as it grows? It's restricting the movement. Those same two trees that I have kept questioning, once I became an adult and those trees are still standing, all the branches on that tree grow straight up. That the trunk of that tree is a straight up trunk. What he was doing with the stick and the string, yes, true enough, the plant was stronger than it could have. But the way that he was training it, he knew that once this string come off of this plant, it's still going to grow in the way that it was trained. So that goes to the montage of train a child in the way that they should go. And when they get older, they will not depart from it. We have to take the time to invest in our children. We want to stop crime. We want to stop violence. We have to invest in our youth and train our youth in the way that they should go. And that means that even if they're your child or not, these babies are looking for leaders. That's how they end up in the streets, because somebody else is taking the time to invest in your child where you would. We got to beat the streets, guys. We have to invest back in our babies. It's on us. And not only as an organization, not just on UPass, who's already doing a wonderful job, but it's on all adults to take the time to invest in any youth that you see. So that's my spiel on crime and violence. And I agree, Kevin, 100%. Each one has to teach one. Because once you teach these children this lesson, it becomes infectious and they start telling other children. That's a known fact. If children find a place where they know to have fun, you're gonna find out 30 children gonna be there for the end of the week. Why? Because they all are telling each other, I found a place. Let's make places of safety and security where our children can grow strong. And that's what they need. And we can go ahead and transition that from the crime and violence for our youth to how we deal with the blight. And Kevin, I'm gonna let you finish it up with the poverty, but D, I want to ask you, if I'm trying to train up a child and want this child to grow in a certain fashion, I want this child to be a productive citizen, what is the blight that we have in the city of Memphis, in our inner city? How do you think that would damper what we have going?
One of the things about blight is that blight says a lot about a community. When you go to certain communities and you see well manicured lawns and you see that everything is well maintained, everything is kept up, that shows that the people care about the community. Not only do they care, but apparently government officials care as well. So when you go to communities where there is blight, and when I say blight, I'm talking about graffiti, broken windows, broken glass, these abandoned apartments. You and I, and we've talked about this, Memphis has a huge issue, huge problem with abandoned apartments. And you're talking about acres and acres of abandoned land. You talk about acres and acres of abandoned land, you're also talking about acres and acres of abandoned opportunity. And that's why it's very important that we do something with these complexes that are beneficial to the community. Because when you stay and you abandon these properties, it's almost like you're abandoning the community. You're telling the community, we don't care about you. We're not invested in you. When you look at the potholes that are in the streets of our city, our roads, our infrastructure, they are heavily damaged. And we need to do more to find a way to really build up our infrastructure. So that's kind of the challenge. And I'm really looking forward to kind of strategizing with more people on the call to kind of get their take on, blight and some of the solutions that they think would be beneficial.
I think it starts with I won't say it starts with code enforcement, but I think code enforcement has to build like some relationships within the communities that they serve.
Hey, I ain't want to cut you off, bro, but hey, listen, we speaking freely. And I know that, you know, that we always want to be politically correct. But Kevin, you said something and you retracted. No, go back to your statement. It is code enforcement. I'm not, you know, we're not gonna negate.
Well, it starts in the community. You got to have pride in your home first. So first of all, that's you. It starts with you. So that's why I retracted that. It starts with you first, and then it becomes the code enforcement. So like in the community, I want my yard to look good. I might not cut it every 2 weeks. It might be an extra week in there. The bushes might be overgrown for a month, but I'm gonna get to them. It's not like it's just gonna be out there where it's like trash and debris all in my yard or whatever. I'm gonna go out there. Like if I see some and I come back to the house and I see a piece of a plastic bag that is, you know, the breeze has blown it into the yard. I'm not going to leave it there just to live. I'm gonna pick it up. And even if I see something in my neighbor's yard, if it's within reach, like I can do that. That's something, that's why I say it starts with you. Then outside of that, code enforcement. When you're coming into these neighborhoods, there shouldn't be a reason why there are 3 or 4 cars in the yard. Now, I understand if the cars are operational and it's a family, I get that. But if the car is just sitting up there and you got 3 other houses that have perfectly manicured yards, or the yards look nice, the streets are good, you know, they ain't got too much debris out there, the trash is on the street, then why are you bringing down the neighborhood with 4 or 5 cars right there? My dad, we have a neighbor that lives right across the street. I don't know if he's like a white Sanford and Son, but it's a white guy. He lives in a duplex and he literally has like, it's everything like spewing from his yard. He has stoves, air conditioners. I even picked up a couple things from him off the street. I ain't even gonna lie. He does have a couple good things, but I'm saying like he really brings down the value of the neighborhood because everybody else, this is a working class neighborhood. It's not, you know, everybody ain't making $80,000 to $90,000. Like, you know, everybody's making a living. Everybody's going to work, coming home. And you have this one person who has trash everywhere. He got people coming to his house. And it's like people have called code enforcement on him. And it's because, and it seems like they do nothing. But if you have another color right down the street and they might have, you know, 3 or 4 cars that are operational parked in front of the house, they're going to come and get them a ticket. Or if they park in the driveway and the car is over the sidewalk, they get a ticket for that. And it's like, you have to be non-discriminatory and you have to enforce your practices all across the board. There shouldn't be a reason why there's more enforcement in a DeSoto County neighborhood, well, different states, but Collierville versus a South Memphis or a Boxtown. There shouldn't be that. Go ahead.
Now, Brandon, I liked it what you said as far as institutionalized racism. And I think we also, at this point, we're starting to allude to systemic racism. These systems are in place for the benefit of everyone. And from what I'm gathering, and it is not just us, once again, I think for all of us, this becomes lived experiences and things that we've seen that we want change. And we understand that there are systems in place to be able to assist us in these issues. And what we're seeing is that the enforcement that you could enforce in our communities, the way that you could enforce these laws, it just don't happen for us. Because, and I agree with you 110%, because Collierville, I don't care what Collierville is, it's still part of Shelby County. I don't care where these areas are, Germantown, Bartlett, they're still part of Shelby County, Tennessee. So the question becomes, if the city is paying into the Shelby County code enforcement the way that every other city or municipality is, why is it that we get lackluster service from the same organizations that will give their best to other cities? And I think that that's something that we have to highlight. It takes strong individuals who are those strong citizens in communities to be able to speak on and speak out about these issues. I can't say that I'm effectively helping my youth if I see the issues that they can't vocalize and get things done for, and I'm not speaking up on their behalf. You know, and I'm glad you said that, because code enforcement is doing a great disservice to our communities. And I'm really putting an asterisk by that, because we do. And, you know, we need to come up with a strategy and I'm serious about this one, on how we can approach code enforcement to do more for African Americans in the city of Memphis. They have to, because and even in my grandfather's neighborhood, like I told you, my granddad, he really invested in his yard. I see you, B. And my grandfather really invested in his property. So to see his property value go down because someone has acquired a home in the community, and you got 12, this is no exaggeration, guys. I say 8. There's 8 cars there at all times. There's an RV there that doesn't move. Like, all of these things that you have, and they are weathered, they're consistently declining in appearance. From just looking at it, it's declining, which brings the property value down. Well, for these individuals who are in these communities who invested and spent their entire life to build something right here and have a little chunk of it ain't even a piece of the earth, a little smidget of earth to call their own, and have other people come and for whatever situation, however you ended up in the neighborhood, to be able to bring their property value down. We have to understand and teach our babies this: when we allow that to happen, your grandfather's house eventually would be a part of your portfolio. This is part of your family. Somebody invested in, and you will at some point be some part owner of this land and this home if your family keeps this home. Don't allow somebody to kill your investment. Somebody has invested in this property to be able to be a family house, and now we'll let other people come tear it down. We have to speak out on that. And code enforcement, yeah, because I agree. We can name apartment complexes. I have no problem with doing that. We know that Peppertree is an issue in Whitehaven. We know for a fact that Oakshire Apartments should be fully shut down. We can't allow our baby, and Oakshire, and the thing about Oakshire is right next to Oakshire Elementary. So when those children look out the windows of their school and have to see a boarded up apartment complex, grass everywhere, and still have people that are living there, and we allow that, that's a problem. That's a major problem. Professor, go ahead, sir.
So one of the things that I want to chime in about and kind of see how this connects is because Kevin talked about the values. So thinking about how I was raised, we weren't raised to just throw trash outside or to just to do that. So so it's like, what is there something we can do? Does somebody have to teach it? And I mean, that may be. Maybe somebody's not telling them, sweetheart, baby, we don't throw trash out. I mean, because I've seen somebody throw a whole chicken box out the window down the street. So I just kind of want to throw that out there as far as teaching more and teaching skills and teaching about investing and taking care of your own.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to answer the question you put in the chat. I have to be honest. When you're talking about the pride that our great grandparents and grandparents had when acquiring homes, we got to realize the era that they were in. They were coming, it was a very strong post-slavery era. It was the Jim Crow era. So they were actually just trying to obtain all that they can. And unfortunately, the montage of, if you cut off the head, the body will follow. And that's what we saw. We saw leaders of great organizations such as Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all these individuals who invested, in trying to educate us on the mass level on certain things in our communities. And unfortunately, when those leaders died, there was a lot that left with them. And that information was no longer passed on the way that it was. And we have to, Medgar Evers and all that, and the church was so strong in the African-American families. We have to realize that the African-American church was the information center for communities. The entire community would be able to know what's going on and how we can work together to make this better, because everybody went to church in the community in which they live. And that was another sense of community that was very strong and needed that I see that we just don't have anymore. There are some very strong churches in the city and in the area, but those community churches really did have an impact, and we see that now. When you have one or two churches in the community, and they serious about their community, they walking through picking up the paper. I remember as a child walking through picking up paper. You finna have an event, we walking through, we finna let everybody in the neighborhood know that this church is doing something, because you finna walk and go put a stick on their mailbox or their door and let them know that what we have going on. I think that when those voices left, nobody picked it up, and I think it was a fear aspect, because not only did they not pick it up strong, it was almost as if I don't want to talk about it because you saw what just happened. So, and that goes back to, if you want to read The Making of a Slave, go ahead and read that, and they'll tell you the psychology behind how we get to these points, because this is a psychological thing. Some of the things that are being done are psychologically passed down, and we don't understand as people sometimes that your brokenness you're passing down to generations. So now you have generations of broken individuals. And I want to say that 2021, 2020, these have been years of awakening. And we're seeing more African Americans for sure become aware of situations and systems that are in place. And hopefully we can keep fighting these things so the babies that we see coming up in the next couple of generations won't have to deal with the things that we had to deal with growing up, guys. Hey, Kevin, yeah, man. Kevin, you want to speak on that? I see you. And, I can speak on that too, I think me and you have had this conversation, privately about certain things that hurt our community. And if you want to expound on your last comment, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Hopefully I won't cause any controversy, but controversy is my name. Anyway, yeah, to me, like you said, when they cut off the figureheads, I think about, like, to your point, I'm coming out of segregation, I'm coming out of Jim Crow, I'm coming out of civil rights, and I'm able to actually attain something. So I went and fought, I just use a soldier. I went and fought in World War II, came back, don't have any rights, cut out the GI Bill. I scrape and I fight hard to attain a house in Orange Mound, first Black neighborhood. I'm happy. Like, this is my neighborhood. I got my piece. It ain't 40 acres. It might be 0.2 acres, but it's mine, right?
Right.
So, cool. Then, and I might say something that might be a little controversial again, but you have this phenomenon of feminism come along where, hey, I want to work. I want to have equal rights. I want to be on the same level as a man. Well, from my research, and I'll speak from my perspective, that was really a Caucasian-led effort. Many Black households had strong families. You had the father, you had the mother that were a tight-knit unit. You had nuclear families where you had the grandparents there. So you have this phenomenon where white women are saying we're being disenfranchised at home, and Black women are like, nah, we're taken care of. My man go out and work, he come back, my kids taken care of, I'm able to spend time with them, all of that. So then you get a segment of people of Caucasian women that say, we need your help. We need you in this fight. And now you take Black women away from the home. Not only that, simultaneously, you have the government saying, well, we'll give you housing if you keep the man out of the home. Okay, so now you have two forces working again. So you already have the systemic side of government already blatantly discriminating against Black families. Then you have sub-segments tearing those families apart even further in the interest of housing. So I was watching this documentary called Pruitt-Igoe. It's about a study in St. Louis where they did a housing project. It was 17 buildings where they were able to house a lot of the immigrants, or not immigrants, but the people coming in from the South looking for opportunities in the North. And St. Louis was one of those places where they actually built public housing for those people to come in. And one of the stipulations was you couldn't have a man in the home. And it was a married couple, and they were saying, like, they made the decision where the father would leave the home for the interest of the mother and the children. Again, speaking to the love that a Black father has, he will sacrifice being in the home to make sure that the family is all right. So when I said integration severely hurt the community, it's more so because we were tight knit because that's all we had. So we had to depend on each other. And then when you kind of open up all of these other, like, well, here's a generic brand of Jiffy, and here's another brand of bread, or you get all of these options, and now people are like, okay, look, let me go try that. Let me go, see what that's about, when you already had something that was in place that was probably better than what they were offering. So that's what I meant by it really hurt the community ties, because we had so many subsections and factions that were literally trying to tear the family apart. And to a point succeeded. And that's why it's like, well, I don't have pride in my home because this ain't my home. This is government property. So what do I care about it? And then you take that, well, I have a voucher. I don't care about this house because I ain't necessarily got to pay for it. So let me just, if the blinds tear up, they going to replace them for the next person. So I ain't got to worry about it.
Hey, Kevin, thank you for all that, man. I like the way you brought up that Jiffy. You say it's a difference between somebody who uses yellow cornmeal and yellow corn mix. Not hurting my Jiffy people, but hey, there's a difference between that bread now. Thank you so much, and I agree. Integration had an effect on our community. Whether we want to agree to it and say it did or didn't, we know that it had an effect. And I'm gonna hit you with that when it comes to that Black man making that sacrifice for the family, that's very true. And it also goes back to even in the time of slavery, when we were bred, where the male would have children or create a child and be snatched away from their family because he was there just for breeding purposes. So understanding, and I think that this is part of that critical race theory that they don't want to speak on, because when you start talking about this aspect of, it was cool for me to leave the house when you wanted me to breed, but now that you don't need me to breed anymore because we're growing at a rather rapid rate, you prefer that I not, someone else created this, a lot of these systems that are still in place that are plaguing us. Professor, I see your hand up. And after that, we'll go ahead into the next topic of poverty, which I think is yours anyway. So after your statement, if you want to go ahead and transition into that, you're more than welcome to.
Sure. So my point is two things, and three when I go to poverty. One, Kevin brought up a very interesting point when it comes to the values of our community. One of the things that I really stress is when it comes to Black people and those of African descent, collectivity and community are our values. When you look at other races who are more individualistic, we've tried to pull at that, but that's not who we are in our nature. And also, when you talk about Black men and family, that is so true. Research definitely supports that. There have been studies done that talk about how when it comes to manhood and what's important in male identity and manhood identity in Black men, family is it. Family is the biggest one. So that was good conversation. And when we talk about poverty, poverty is a really huge issue in this country, and they make it very complicated. To end poverty, it's very simple: raise wages. That's my TED talk. Thank you.
It's sad to say that it's that simple, but see, the fear is, and this is just being honest, guys. The moment they raise wages, Stokes, I'm gonna let you answer this since you sitting over there. I ain't saying that, man. It almost looked like there's a picture over there, so I'm gonna make that picture move around a little bit for me. Hey, look, when it comes to poverty and what Brandon was just saying, what are your thoughts, Stokes?
On poverty, well, number one, poverty.
What's gonna happen? What do you think will happen if they raise wages? From someone who used to be in the supply chain of, working in retail, what's going to happen?
Typically, when they raise wages, the cost of living goes up to where it's really not effective. That's typically what happens when wages are raised. So are your bills. And so kind of leaves you in the same place you already are. So what we have to do is we have to start controlling where the wages lie. We have to stop teaching kids to be employees. We have to teach ownership. We have to start controlling the power that we have in the dollar. It's about us controlling our spending and where we spend money and how we spend it. And then we can control a lot more than we think we can.
I agree. And not to, yeah, I'm being frank, guys. So look, I actually did some research and looked at what we call the Kroger family of stores. And when you look at the conglomerate and the machine of Kroger, Kroger is dangerous to America because Kroger has enough grocery stores in America that if they wanted to affect the food source, they could actually control it. And the fact that when you see all of the stores that they own across the country, yet your wages start off where they start, that's a major problem. There is no reason that you should be able to tell me that you have, man, listen, there's so many Krogers. And we can talk about all the other stores that they have, the King Supers and all the other stores. I've been in Denver. I say the moment I walk in a King Scooper, whatever they call it in Denver, the moment my feet touched the inside of that store, I said, wow, I'm in Kroger. The signage was the same. The layout of the store was the same. The only thing was different that it said King Scooper instead of Kroger. And what I'm saying that to say this, when you have these machines that are making money across the board in such a fashion, the last thing that we should be having Kroger discuss is starting somebody off at $7.50, $7.75, something like that. I don't care whether you part-time, sometime, no time, a time. It's one of those things where you paying somebody $10 an hour, Doc, that is minuscule to the amount of money that you make. Because when a person walks in Kroger, I'm telling you, my wife is on the line. She'll tell you right now that when she go in Kroger, we gonna easily spend. I don't care if she just going to get a gallon of milk. That gallon of milk turns to $35 to $75 real fast. And you're talking about $50 to $100 per person every time they walk through their door. There's not a person, and when I leave, I'm still finna go to the Kroger and get gas. So not only did you make the money off me on my food, now I'm finna put your gas in my car. And you telling me that gas station attendant, that person who, you better know I'm going for my few points. Y'all look for your gift cards around Christmas time. I get 4 times the few points. But it's one of those situations where even though I'm saying that, also in my head, I'm like, hey, what system am I playing with? How detrimental am I to funding this system that I see is damaging? So me and my wife had that conversation recently. Hey, we might have to start paying a couple extra dollars to go to Whole Foods. I might have to pay a couple extra dollars to go to Trader Joe's and Fresh Market. And I really like Fresh Market because they have a restaurant in there. So she can shop and I can have a snack. But nevertheless, when you're talking about things like that, sometimes, and that goes back to what Brandon and Corby both said, hey man, we got to watch where we're spending our dollars. I can't complain about a system if I'm going to still put my dollars in this system. Because the system that I'm complaining about, I'm fueling. And that's what these owners and CEOs know. No matter what people say, at the end of the day, they're going to still come give me their money. So we have to make the conscious decision to do something different. And when I say that, I want to go back to where, our staff and our team, we recently went and we went back down memory lane in Memphis, and we visit some very important places in the city of Memphis when it comes to African Americans. We went to Stack's, guys, and we had a good time. We went to the 4-Way Grill, and we also went over to the National Civil Rights Museum. And one of the things that stood out to me the most, that collectively, the African Americans said, you know what? I'm not riding the bus for over a year to make this thing change. So then the question is posed. What happens if African Americans say, you know what? We ain't going to Kroger no more. We're going to go I don't care if it's Super Low and Aldi's. These are our stores from now. We're not going to Kroger pay our people different. Kroger, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be a whole lot of incentives that's going to be pushed for to make something different happen. Even with all the stores they have across America, do you know how much that would hurt the bottom line if we just stopped shopping in Memphis? So, you know, those certain things that we need to explore. Would anybody else would like to speak on that? I see Brandon been asked some nice good points down there. Pete, you want to speak on some of this, man?
So when you said that, I don't really know how to speak to the chat, but I really want to piggyback off what you just said. When we talk about our community, that fight, that passion, you know, where is that? You know, you just described all these movements, and maybe it's, you know, lack of leadership, but that's really what I see in our community. Like, back in the day, you know, you saw that pride, you saw that fight, we had something we were working towards. And I don't know if we got comfortable because we thought we had a Black president, but I will say this. What has happened recently in history has shown people that no, it's not over. And every day we're in this fight. I mean, we're having Republicans fight to suppress our voting rights across the country. You're fighting for them to keep critical race theory out of school, which first let me just point this out. Critical race theory is a theoretical framework. No one would actually be teaching that theory per se in a public school setting because that's not what we would teach theoretical frameworks. However, if you look at the law, there are still some ways that teachers can still incorporate, you know, facets of CRT into their classroom. But I just wanted to say that, you know, just talking about the passion that, you know, we had in the fight for justice as a community and where that went.
I agree. And you know, even though I raised my hand to say me, yeah, I don't know why, but I'm gonna fight for our people, whether they fight for themselves or not. Because I understand that, yeah, our people need someone who's going to be able to stand up against all odds and all vices to spark the next leader. I'm being honest. Every time I go to the National Civil Rights Museum and I think about that dream, Martin Luther King, you know, I have a dream speech. I got it in the office, you know. But when I think about it, that dream didn't die because I picked it up. I'm still fighting for the same thing. When my team walked around the National Civil Rights Museum, that's what we were saying. Like, hey, the same things that this brother he died fighting for, we're still fighting for to this day. And even if I don't live to see this happen, if I can live a life that encourages the next leader to want to pick up this battle until we see the equality and equity that we're looking for, I've served my purpose here. And we have to go back to a point of that. It took me a while to realize that my life is not my own. It has nothing to do with me no more. I'm here now. And I'm an adult now, you know. But at this point, I can really shape the future by the life that I live and what I invest and what I instill in our youth. I can change the next 100 years of this country. If I live a life where I can impact people even when I'm gone, just like Martin Luther King's dream, gone. He's gone. But there's somebody who's still willing to pick up that and fight. So I'm just pleased at that.
Well, thank you everybody for speaking on these very important topics of crime and violence, blight and poverty within our community. And I'm just intruding to ask if anyone had any questions or concerns of how Heal 901 can help with everything that was said, speaking on the raising wages and the, you know, everything about the code enforcement. This is a call to action now on our part. How can we as a community benefit us? And if anybody has, you know, any input on that, I wouldn't mind hearing it and we'll go from there.
I'll say this right quick. I think everything we said, Hill 901, our focus is youth. And I think out of all the things that we said, it's going to go back to the youth to get the younger generation empowered to push us forward. Because I mean, I know me personally, I'm always looking for, who's coming up the ranks behind me. Because I don't want to keep doing this forever. Because when I get to a certain age, I plan on being on the beach and carrying out my days. But yeah, with that being said, I think it points back to what Hill 901 already does. It may mean that we expand, but I think that we are at a good point when we have our focus and attention on the youth.
Yes, sir, I totally agree. And we are on the right track as a whole. Darrell, do you feel as director of Hill 901 that any program that you are doing right now at this time is already in progress, like Brandon said? Like what specific program or specific thing that Hill 901 is doing currently that is making that change within the community as we speak?
It was crazy when you asked me that, all of our programs are impactful. Everything that we do is, but our athletes as leaders program, coaching boys in the men program, we're making good strides. And the way that we're approaching this situation critically, by saying that, hey, we're going to engage the athletes who are already leaders in schools and leaders in their community, leaders in their homes. If we engage them and change the way that they think, we can infectiously change the community the same way the coronavirus spread. Hey, this good can spread the exact same way. And I can't say that enough. But, I'm pleased with the work that we're doing, but there's so much that needs to be done. And just listening to, at the end, just when we were wrapping up, it was just the thought of having to do more programming is not an issue. And I want to say that it's one of those things where we can only do so much, with the funding that we have. And when I'm looking at it critically and being totally honest, we just got to invest back in programs that invest in our babies. And we have to. Like, there is no reason, and it's crazy that other people from other backgrounds are willing to take the time. And I'm telling you, they will sow them seeds. They'll even try and come out and do the work. But our babies need to see people who look like them doing this type of work, investing in this type of work. That's the critical part. It takes our baby. Hey, listen, it was important for me as an adult to see Black Panther. You dig what I'm saying? You can call it a fictitious character, whatever you want. I saw a Black superhero. I saw somebody fighting for a race of people, against our odds. Hey, listen, we need to see that. Hey, Superman was cool. Batman was cool. These people were cool. I ain't had no problem with my childhood. I'm telling you, I loved my childhood. But I'm just thinking to myself, how much would my life have been different if I would have saw Black Panther as a baby? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to tell you, Lion King still messes me up as an adult. So, some of those things that we saw, but those things prepare you for life. And one of the hardest lessons I learned from Lion King was, hey, you got to watch anybody, because anybody, even your family ain't going to always do you right. That was hard to learn as a child. When, and having representation that look like you really is important. People gotta look, you gotta see somebody who look like you doing good. And that's very important in our communities. Stokes gonna always, hey, I see you, bro. Like, Stokes gonna always make sure that he have on clothes that represent that not only, I'm a man of business. Hey, our babies need to see that. Our babies need to see professionals. They need to see somebody walking out the house in a uniform every day going to work. I don't care if it's a Hill 901 polo, a daycare uniform. They need to see people going to work in uniform. They need to see some lawyers in our communities. And we need some doctors in our communities. That's what made the difference. When those people who were successful started leaving their own communities to go and build up. Let me indicate that. These individuals have built up Olive Branch, Lakeland, all these other areas. Doc, you were most impactful in your own community. These people, wherever we living at right now, man, they're gonna take your tax dollars and the police will come and harass you in the community that you pay taxes in. But the impact that you could have had in the lives of individuals who look like you in the communities that you're from, Doc, that's priceless. It's priceless. Professor.
You brought up a very good point. So when it comes to people that look like us in those different types of professions. So I was having a conversation with somebody talking about career, and they were talking about being a nutritionist. And I brought that back to our community and why it was important. And with the perspective I brought to them is when it comes to the medical profession and medicine, Black people are not trustworthy with good reason. And so when you have Black doctors, Black nutritionists, Black herbalists, like when you have those, I'm more apt to listen to you. So I may be more apt to get my diabetes under control. I may be more apt to get my high blood pressure under control because I have somebody who looks like me talking to me about my condition, who also knows culturally the things that we go through. She know what it's like to have a baby shower plate. She know about that Rotel and all the meatballs and stuff like that. So they can help teach me about, okay, maybe just get one meatball, just get a teaspoon of Rotel. You know what I'm saying? So I really like that point, and we really got to bring that back and kind of connect the dots for them. Because once I connected the dots, they were like, oh, you know what, you're right, I could do that. So yeah, I want to throw that out there.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's good dialogue. And yes, this space, and Kevin said this space is very critical, and I appreciate it. And I thank everybody for taking time out of their busy schedule to be here. And understand how important this is, and I want us to keep this thing rolling. Like I want to start doing these community engagement meetings. We're going to start off very strong. I want to do this at least once a month. So if I'm not mistaken, moving forward, Kevin, you'll get some emails. You know, I know you on our email list and all that, but if I'm not mistaken, from our board meeting on yesterday, we're going to do this once a month. I think it's going to be on the second or the third Saturday of every month. And we're going to set a time. And I like this platform. I like being able to do this virtually. But we need to take time with people who are taking the time to invest in their community and get our youth involved. I want to start seeing our youth in on these calls. I want to start getting some of their input. Because we can say everything that we're doing and we want to do for our babies, but I need to hear from them what they need. You know, I can tell you what I see this deterring you, but I need to hear from them directly. Hey, what do you need? What if you could choose for me to fight two things for you, two things that you can't address for yourself, two things that affect not only you, but your peers, your siblings. Tell me what those two things are so I can get a group of individuals who really willing to attack those things for you. And I think that's important. So I'm excited to see where this goes and how this grows to be able to give our babies what they need. And I want to really hear from them. And once again, Kevin, man, I really appreciate you for your time, my man. And all them young leaders, like them young leaders you had over there in your summer program. My young lady who's a cheerleader over there, fairly, we ain't gonna say her name, but I had the pleasure of seeing her earlier this week. And I look forward to engaging with her and seeing what we can build by getting these individuals involved. And I know that the impact that I had on her was something that she didn't take lightly, because the moment we pulled up at this school and she saw me getting out that truck, the first thing she said is, "There go Mr. Durrell." I'm like, yeah. So, you know, just understanding that, you know, the impact that I'm having on these babies' lives, you know. Hey, I'm just glad that God has allowed me to live to see these years of my life and be able to make this impact and be able to see this. I'm just excited to see where this go. And I'm excited that I'm able to do this, and I'm excited to see how many people come on board, and actually we get a nice little conglomerate of individuals to make something happen. You know, just like churches learned how to go virtual and be able to be in multiple places at one time, I think that with this Zoom platform, that we can, if we do this on a monthly thing, and it'll be great. And because this is a recording, there are certain things that I must say. So thank everybody for their time and investing, taking time out of their Saturday to invest in the Hill 901. But this information right here is critical. Thank you for your time. Thank you for lending hands. Thanks for helping. But this information needs to be shared. And I'm not just saying that for me to pad my pockets. Hey, look, there's so much more work that needs to be done in our community. There's so much that can be done. But it takes funding to make that happen. And if our city leaders, state leaders, national leaders don't put money in our communities, we got to do it. So share this information with individuals who you know are invested, looking for places to invest, looking for places to put those dollars, and let them know that there's an organization here who is taking time to learn more about what our youth need to make the future of this place that we live in better. And this is just critical. Just share it. And I can't say that enough. I'm actually going to take time to get some real public service announcements, and this is for everybody. I'm going to invest in public service announcements and advertisement. Only thing I'm asking for the citizens of Memphis for is $9.01 a month. If 1% of Memphis, Shelby County, gave $9.01 a month to this organization, the impact, the amount of schools that we'll be able to service, the amount of programs that we'll be able to bring to the communities, it'll be something that really would change the fabric of this city. So let's share these information, text it out, share it out, and let's share it. And I can't say that enough. Yeah, we got, once again, we have to invest in our community. And when I say that, take it everywhere. Take it to your church, to your doctor's office. I feel like this, anywhere that you patronize that takes your dollars, if they're not willing to invest back in your community, why are we shopping it anyway? Why are we dealing with it anyway? And that's a position that we have to take. If I'm willing to work to make money to get to support you, get services and or goods from you, and you're not willing to put $9.01 a month back into my community, I don't need to shop with you, Doc. And we got to stand on it and make people invest back in our own communities and our babies. So thank everybody for their time. Thank you everybody for taking time out of their busy schedule to be here. I know it's a Saturday, I want to take a poll real quick, and we can do this in the chat. I want to know from the individuals on the line, is it easier to meet at 1 o'clock on a Saturday, or would y'all like this time to be moved up for convenience, moved down? Like, what is the most convenient time to do this? Because 1 to 3 is midday. So what if it's cool where it's at, let me know. But if y'all feel that we need to come a little bit earlier, we need to come a little bit later, feel free to add those informations in the chat so we can go ahead and take a poll and see if we need to stay where we at, or how we need to do this to make sure it's more comfortable for everybody. So thank everyone for being here. And Naya, I can talk all day. So if you don't wrap this up for me, I'm telling you, we'll be on this thing to 5:30. Cause I got some guys over here who are serious about the community, and these critical conversations that we're having are food for me. And it gives me the encourage to keep going on. I don't think we understand, like, when you in fights like this and you fighting against something that other people just don't see, it's good to know that you have other people that you can call on, so lean on, support, that are support systems for you. to keep you going in on this journey, where it seems like sometimes it's just alone. Yolanda Adams, ain't that her? Who said alone in a room? When sometimes you feel alone in a room, it's good to have others that you can call on for their support. Kevin, I agree with you. I agree with you. I really did like sleeping in, so I think we'll stay in the afternoon. Just wanted to pose that question. The floor is now open for final comments. Kevin, Mr. Stokes, as well as the professor, you are open for comments. Mrs. Cowan, I see you down. She got the picture of my baby up here, so if my wife would like to speak, she is very involved in the community. I'm not able to do this by myself, and I have to say that it takes for somebody like my wife to be at home with my children and doing all that while I'm out here trying to save the community. And I really want to thank her for, taking care of home and allowing me to go help others. So that's gratefully appreciated. And she do this for a living too. So my wife is a family intervention specialist for youth villages. So she's in homes counseling on a regular basis. So she understands this fight I'm in because she's out there on the front lines with me, even though we had different areas fighting the same battle. So I thank her so much for joining us on the day and being here. But last comments, final remarks, anybody. I just wanted to make sure I thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, babe, for being here. And that's it for me, guys. Yeah, everybody else. Naya, thank you for moderating. I'm gonna give you the grand privilege of, if we was at church, I'd say you get to do the benediction, but you get to close us out for the day, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And as he said, if anybody has any final remarks, the floor is yours. It's open. And I just want to thank you guys personally for being here, like you said, on your Saturday afternoon, knowing you could be anywhere else. We're having these as very critical conversations that need to be said, it needs to be heard. And we hear you, we're taking it all in. And again, thank you, Mrs. Cowan for coming, Mr. Stokes, Kevin, Darrell, Brandon. I really do appreciate you all. And I hope everyone has a great day. And remember, spread the word, and we're all in this together. Thank you.